Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Well, this is week number 17, and those of you who are our regular listeners have noticed many miracles and coincidence stories so far, and I think you've come to appreciate that it seems that God wraps his miracles in wrapping paper, and the wrapping paper is coincidences. So every time you see a coincidence, if you just take a minute, try to notice what's happening around that coincidence, and if it's the second coincidence today or the third coincidence today, oftentimes you'll notice that the coincidences are helping us to notice miracles. As always, I suggest you get a pencil and paper, have a pencil and paper handy for some notes that you might want to take. For example, I want to remind you that the word air, A-I-R, air, 3 letters, it's an acronym, and AIR reminds us that miracles come from actions, that's the A, and miracles come from inspirations, that's when God gives us an inspiration, and miracles come from results, where God does things, and you'll notice the end results of several actions, several inspirations, and when you notice the results, like the parting of the waters, you'll notice miracles. So if you keep looking for actions, inspirations, and results, and look for coincidences, you'll notice many miracles. I also would like to stress for everyone that God is a master at multitasking. There are 7 billion people on the planet Earth, and God is sending coincidence miracles to 7 billion people all day long, every day, year after year. So talk about being a great taskmaster and a multitasker. God is certainly extremely proficient at that, multitasking all the time. So now I'd like to tell you about a couple of miracles. The first one has to do with I was getting up to go to morning mass, and I was inspired, and that's part of our acronym AIR. I was inspired, and that's how miracles happen. I was inspired to go to a different mass than normal that morning for mass. Instead of the church I normally go to go to a different church. So I did. I went to that different mass, and it was a wonderful mass. And after Mass, I lingered. I had time to linger and meditate and reflect on the Bible readings from the Mass and the lecture that the priest gave. So I was lingering, and everybody else eventually left. And I guess I was there about 10 or 15 minutes meditating. And as I was getting ready to leave, I noticed that the priest who had said the Mass, he was also still there in the back room. And I saw as he got up to walk away, he was very dizzy. He was holding onto the wall. He was struggling with breathing. So I approached him and talked a little bit about it, and it turned out he was having a stroke, and I was able to get him some help and got him to the hospital. So it was very providential. And the whole point of my story at the moment is if I didn't go to that particular church and I didn't linger later and be the only one there, and I didn't notice the priest having a stroke, then he would not have had help. So following inspirations brought about that very blessed moment in my life. After that, I went shopping for groceries, and as I was shopping, I noticed a very old lady. She really was very, very old, and walking very carefully and pushing her cart and straining quite a bit to push the cart even. But I noticed in her shopping cart, she had like 8 or 10 different kinds of cookies. I mean, her cart was really loaded up with cookies, and it was very impressive and noticeable. And Jesus inspired me again, and there's that word inspired again. He inspired me to ask the woman if she was planning a great party or a feast, or if she was just the greatest grandmother on earth and she always gives cookies to her grandchildren. And so I was inspired to say that, so I did. And she spent some time talking to me. She said that her husband had a stroke, and that's another coincidence, by the way, because her husband had a stroke is going to be this part of the story. But I just finished leaving a church where a very old elderly priest was having a stroke as well. So coincidentally, again, another coincidence is this woman's talking about her husband who had a stroke 4 years ago, and she said she cares for him the best she can, but she's having a tough time lately, and I could see that she started to tear up. There were tears in her eyes as she was telling me how it's difficult for her now because she's also 90 years old right now, and it's getting more and more difficult. But she said, you know, the poor man, she loves him so very much. They were married many, many years, and she loves him so very much. And he doesn't get much joy or much that makes him happy these days, except for these cookies, these varieties. Especially, he loves them so very much. So she was tearing up as she was telling me this, but I could see how she was really sharing how she loved this man so greatly. And so as she talked for about 5 minutes, I could see that she was enjoying our chat, so we talked about many things. And so I told her about our 2 books, and I told her about our website where she can get a lot of free audios that maybe he or she would enjoy hearing, our 10 or 15-minute audios that are all for free, inspirational things, and stories about miracles, which cheer up people all the time. And I shared another miracle with her there on the spot. And then I was inspired again. There's that word again, inspired. And our action, by the way, was we were talking. And the results were that I got inspired to hand her one of the miraculous medals of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which I'm sure many of you know by now. The miraculous medal was given to St. Catherine in the year 1830. And you can Google miraculous medal, St. Catherine, 1830. Want to write that down, St. Catherine Miraculous Medals, 1830. If you Google that, you'll see the whole story. But I gave this woman 2, one for her and one for her husband, and she was so ecstatic. She said she knew about these medals, and she heard a lot about the great miracles that result from people carrying the medical medals, so she was so happy, and we parted as friends. And I told her the website to Google for all these miraculous things, which you might want to jot down again. But the website that we have that gives all these free things and free miracle stories that people can listen to, the way you get there is you Google the following address. It's W, like a capital W for worldwide, so W, then CAT, that's C-A-T, then the word radio, so it's wcatradio.com/miracles/ One more time, it's WCAT, C-A-T, radio.com/miracles/ divergent.com/miracles/ and if you Google that, you get a lot of free information, things you can get for free. A couple of minutes later, as I continued my shopping, I noticed a woman shopping who had tattoos on her shoulders and on her upper chest area. It looked like eagles or ducks, and I was inspired. There's that word again, inspired. I was inspired to ask her if there was a story behind the tattoos. I said, I'm really impressed with the way the tattoos look. I just wonder if there's a story or a message behind it. Well, she was all excited and happy to tell me, and I find most people enjoy talking about their tattoos, so she was inspired, and she started to tell me how, well, it's something that she did because she was very moved and impressed by a movie or a TV series. I forgot which one it was now, but she said she was impressed by either a movie or a television series called Divergent. That's spelled D for Donald, I, V for Victor, E, R, Divergent. And I said I never saw it. I didn't know anything about it. And, what's it basically about? And she told me it was about the great power of human strength, the great power of doing the right thing and using the human strengths that we have to get the right thing done. And I was so impressed as she went on talking about that. She got a lot out of that movie or that series, and she got so much out of it, she actually got herself tattooed with this message. I don't know, again, whether it was eagles or ducks. I guess it must have been eagles. So I said, wow, I was impressed with her story. And so I told her, if you're interested in the power, the human power, I said, I have a website you can go to. You get a lot of free information. It's also about human power and working with God and producing miracles. I said there's thousands of miracle stories you can listen to for free. It's all about the human strength, and it's all about true stories, true miracle stories. So she was impressed, and so I gave her that website again to Google, which I gave you a minute ago. And once again, it's wcatradio.com/miracles/. And I told her about it. I gave her a card about it. And then I was inspired to give her a miraculous medal also, a miraculous medal of the Blessed Virgin Mary. She's apparently, this woman with the tattoos is a courageous woman who uses her wisdom and her intellect, etc., to produce great results and courageous results, is from what she sounded and from what she told me about the movie. So I gave her the miraculous medal, and I told her she could Google that also, St. Catherine, the year 1830, miraculous medal. And she was delighted. She said, I know all about them. My mother always talked about the medals, and she used to give them to us when we were children. And she said, I don't have any now, so I'm very grateful. And she asked for a couple more for her family, so I gave her a couple more. And she was very grateful as we parted company. And so that was my second instance of following inspirations and getting miracles that day. Later that night, when I turned the TV on, just coincidentally and just by accident or coincidence, there was a minister preaching, and he said, we need to spend our day talking about God and talking about miracles all day long as we're bumping into people throughout the things we do in our life, even when we're shopping or when we're at a park somewhere, bringing up God. We wind up evangelizing and changing the whole world and showing people that everybody can really receive miracles. And I was blown away by that coincidence that night, just turning the TV on and seeing that. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.